Hi everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here, and I like to read comic books. So in this video, I'm going to talk about all the comic books that I bought from November 12th, 2014. Now, enough of this introduction, let's talk some comic books. Okay, so the first comic I'm going to talk about is also the only DC comic that I bought this week, Batman, number 36. Picking off from last issue, Batman is fighting a Jokerized Superman. And he's using almost everything his bat armor has to offer. He's got sonic weaponry. He's got the gauntlets on his armor actually simulate red sunlight, and it's all good. He's able to hold his own, but unfortunately, Superman breaches the armor, pulls Batman out. But fortunately, Batman's able to take him out by shooting him with some kryptonite gum he had in his mouth, which apparently is enough to knock out Superman. So anyways, after Superman's defeated, Batman turns the League over to Argus so that they can help cure them. And he heads over the remains of Arkham Asylum, which, as we know from Batman Eternal, Arkham Asylum is destroyed. And Batman inspects the remains of Joker's cell. And apparently Joker has been in the same cell since from all the number of times he's gone to Arkham, he's been in the same cell. So Batman inspects it. And while Batman is there, he is joined by one of the Arkham workers, Eric Border, who first appeared in Batman Annual number 2. And while they're there, Border talks to Batman when suddenly Border locks Batman in the Joker's cell and sprays him with some sort of paralytic gas, and Border reveals that he's actually the Joker. This whole time, this character, Eric Border, has actually been Joker the whole time. And also, Joker's got a new face now. He's no longer wearing the tethered skin that was cut off, his original face that was cut off. He's got like a whole new face going on. They actually revealed it online for the cover of Batman number 37. It's basically kind of like this white. Well, it's pretty similar to the original. He's still stuck in like that granite, horrible, ghastly smile, but for the most part, it could be fake. And anyways, Joker basically mocks while Batman's in the cell. Joker mocks him, telling him that this will be the end for him and that he's done with him. And also he says, and Joker says that he's thought this out because he knows everything about Batman. And while he knows so much about Batman, it's ironic that Batman doesn't really know a lot about him. So at that point, Joker pulls out a revolver and shoots and fires it, and that's where the issue ends. Okay, so this is still continuing writer Scott Snyder's final Joker story. This is not Scott Snyder's final story on Batman, but this will be his final story on Batman that involves the Joker. Alright, and the whole point of the story is that basically Joker is cutting all ties with Batman with this story. He is basically trying to tell Batman, that's it, we're done, I'm going to kill you for good this time. And it's not just killing him, it's also kind of destroying everything he cares about as well. And Batman even notes that Joker is different this time. That in the past, Joker's always had some sort of motivation, believing that he was making Batman better. And especially in the last story, or Death of the Family, where Joker believed that Batman's weakness was with the members of the Bat family and tried to take them out so that he could make Batman stronger. But now, Joker seems to have come back as sort of like a friend that's scorned and now wants to end Batman for good this time. Also, I have no idea how Joker got a new face per se, and it's not the original face, because apparently he takes out the original, while Batman's in the cell, he takes out the original face, which is now pretty much all moldy and decayed and gross, and just to kind of mock Batman with it. So, but really when you look at it, you can kind of tell that maybe Joker did have some work done, or no idea where he got the new face from, though. It's really weird. I get the feeling that if they do reveal it, it will be a little disturbing. But overall, so far, this is a great story. I highly recommend it to Batman and Joker fans. We're coming to Batman's 75th anniversary, though, is also coming to an end. So what better way to close that off with than a Joker story? I mean, I think it's great. Scott Snyder's doing an impressive job. So overall, I still say Batman is definitely a buy. Now to start off Marvel with a new number 1, all new Captain America number 1. This is pretty much the new Captain America, Sam Wilson, and the new Nomad, Ian Rogers, Steve Rogers' adopted son from Dimension Z, break into a Hydra facility, and while they're there, they fight Batroc the Leaper, and they rescue kids that Hydra is apparently running experiments on. And on their way while they're trying to escape fire from the Hydra agents, they take an elevator that apparently leads them directly to the inner circle of Hydra. And basically, the inner circle is pretty much nearly all of Captain America's rogues gallery. There's Baron Zemo, Sin, Madam Hydra, Taskmaster, Crossbones, Armadillo, Baron Blood, and King Cobra. All right. That's basically the overall plot of the issue. There is lots of it's a very action-oriented issue. I'm not gonna lie. It does have a lot of action. I mean, it's basically the new Captain America, Captain Falcon, taking care of all the Hydra agents, and he's shortly joined by Ian Rogers, who is apparently the new Nomad, and also apparently we hear that Ian wasn't Steve's first choice to be Captain America, and it does sound like there is some resentment from Ian because Sam was chosen to be Captain America instead of him, and I think the reason behind, the way it comes up is that Cap gets into the facility, and then Ian was masquerading as one of the Hydra agents, and so he helps him out when he gets the chance to throw the shield. And apparently Ian is much better at it than Sam is. But I think so. There is some mystery about why Ian wasn't Steve's first choice, and I think the reason behind that is that I don't think Steve felt that Ian was ready. I mean, the last time they saw each other, Ian died, so I think he's worried about Ian being a little worried about Ian dying again, and also it has been years since they saw each other, so I think Steve is a little worried about whether or not he can trust Ian again. So yeah. Also, the issue did open up with some more background on Sam Wilson, where we see Sam kind of recapping about how his father died and how his mother died and what kind of people they were and how they both believed in the best, and how Sam's father believed in the best of humanity. No matter what bad things people did, he still believed that there was good in people. So I thought that was great. Great introduction for the new Captain America. But yeah, overall, this was actually a pretty decent issue. Nothing really I wouldn't say anything spectacular or noteworthy. I was a little shocked that we did get to see the entire inner circle of Hydra revealed to us in the first issue, but I think that is kind of Rick Remender's style. Like, he always does make a clear idea about who the big bad is of whatever series he's writing early on, just to be clear about who the character's going to be fighting in a way. So I think that's good. Good in a way. I mean, I wish we could have had teased a little bit before we actually got the big reveal, but oh well. But really, overall, I would say that if you are curious about the new Captain America series, I would say buy it from a friend first. But if you're a fan of Falcon and you have been since before the announcement that he's going to be the new Captain America, then I would definitely recommend you buy this book. Next up from Marvel, we have Silver Surfer number 7. Basically, the issue opens up with Surfer and Dawn exploring space when suddenly Dawn notices there's an area that doesn't have any stars in it. And so they both go ahead and explore it, and basically it's nothing but darkness. They keep going, nothing but darkness, till finally they see a little lighthouse-type beacon, and when they get close to it, suddenly the darkness reaches out and pulls Dawn into it. And Surfer decides to try to find Dawn by separating from his board and sending it off in different directions. That way they could both cover more ground. And while they're searching, Surfer kind of recaps all the adventures that he and Dawn have had in between this issue and the last issue. And there's a lot, and sort of a clip show style. And there have been a lot of events, a lot of interesting things, and definitely some experiences that have sort of bonded Dawn and the Surfer, and also bonded Dawn to the board as well, who she names Toomey. And anyways, Surfer event, while reviewing all the adventures, Surfer remembers a time when he was with Dawn and he silvered down, or powered down, so to speak, and that's when he gets the idea that he could probably find Dawn if he powers down to his regular Norrin Rad form. So he does that. the darkness pulls him in, and he finds out where Dawn, and he finds Dawn, so he powers back up, summons his board, and grabs Dawn, and they manage to escape while also destroying the beacon, so no one else will ever be taken by the darkness, and they head back into regular space. And right when they get back into regular space, Surfer checks Dawn. Then he manages to use some of his power to make a ring out of his silver coating, so to speak, and he gives it to her so that way they'll always find each other. At which point Dawn asks him, "So it doesn't mean we're going out?" And that's the end of the issue. Okay, I really like this book. It's nice. It's definitely a cool book that's set in space, and basically anything can happen. And it definitely shows how two people who are completely different could actually become best friends, so to speak. I mean, Surfer, former Herald of Galactus, Dawn, girl from Earth, are now starting to become very close to one another, and that's great. And also, one of the cool things that is going on in this series is that the way Dan Slott's writing it is that he's starting to establish the board as sort of a separate entity from the Surfer in a way. Like the board is almost on its own, has its own intelligence in the way it thinks. I mean, it does sort of obey the Surfer in a way, but it also kind of has its own thoughts and feelings. Like one of the adventures Dawn, where the Surfer recaps he had with Dawn. During one event, Surfer had to bring his board in by separating the board's molecules, then summoning the molecules and reconfiguring them. And apparently Dawn and the board kind of revealed to Dawn later that he didn't like it when it happens. And Dawn tells Surfer, and Surfer's like, "Okay, Dawn, I guess, like, okay, since you told me that, I'm never going to do it again." And so that was a really nice moment. But yeah, really, also, I will say this, I always say this, but this series does remind me a lot of Doctor Who, and I think any Doctor Who fan would definitely enjoy this book. I mean, Dan Slott is a Doctor Who fan, so I think that obviously went to this book, but really, I think Doctor Who fans would enjoy this a lot, especially now since the last season just ended, and they need something to occupy their time until the next Christmas special comes out. So yeah, overall, if you like stories that are set in space where almost every new story is kind of a new adventure, and also if you like and shows like Doctor Who, then I would highly recommend you check out Silver Surfer. Okay, now our final comic is Superior Iron Man #1. This is straight out of Axis. There is a recap page that kind of explains what happened. Basically, through Axis, because of the inversion spell, Tony Stark reverted to his original personality before he had the accident that eventually led to him creating the first Iron Man armor. And because of that, and I'm not sure if this book is set after Axis, but it kind of makes it sound like it does, because it says when all the other heroes returned to normal, Tony Stark avoided that, and now he's basically back to being arrogant. So basically the book opens up with Tony Stark's black and gold armor being sent off to help She-Hulk fight Teen Abomination. And during the fight, though, we find out Tony's actually remote controlling the armor. And the real Tony Stark is back at his house in San Francisco having like a pool party and also drinking again. Pepper Potts arrives and confronts Tony about his recent actions, such as giving Extremis away to the entire city of San Francisco. Also his return to drinking, which is obviously a big deal because Tony Stark was one of the first superheroes to be established as an alcoholic. And Tony pretty much tells her that the reason he's doing this is to make up for all the years he wasted on sobriety. And also shows off his new Iron Man armor, which is the new one we've seen on the cover, the silver, which he refers to as the Endosim armor. And apparently it's kind of like the armor he had right before Marvel Now, that's kind of like liquidy metal, and it apparently has functions of a symbiote, so to speak. It functions similar to a symbiote, so to speak. And while Tony's talking to Pepper, Daredevil is dealing with some stuff in San Francisco, particularly when a group of people who have taken the Extremis confront a homeless woman who hasn't basically start ganging up and get ready to beat up on her until Daredevil intervenes. And apparently, right when Daredevil lands one hit on the guy, he starts writhing around in pain, and that sets Daredevil's suspicions off. Like, okay, I need to see Tony Stark immediately. And then we cut back to Tony and Pepper, and Pepper asks him, like, have you even thought about giving these people Utopia could do? And Tony replies that, he has thought about it, and he's not exactly going to give it away. And then we hear all of Tony's party guests who have taken the Extremis 3.0 app start writhing around in pain. Then suddenly they're like starting to turn back into average people, and at which point Pepper notices one of the smartphones with the app on it says, trial period is over. If you want to keep using Extremis 3.0, you have to pay a fee of $100 per day. And so Tony says that Pepper asks Tony, like, what'd you do? And Tony says, I've given the people of Utopia, now I'm taking it away, and I want to watch what's going to happen. He flies off. Then later, at the end of the issue, we see Pepper confronting someone, saying that Tony was always worried about himself, and he did have a contingency involved, and we may need to activate it right now. And the person Pepper is talking to, we have no idea who it is, but apparently they're wearing the Mark III armor of Iron Man, like basically the first red and gold model that Tony Stark wore as Iron Man. And that was a great reveal at the end of it. Okay, really like how they give us kind of a recap of Axis to kind of let people know what led to Tony being like this in a way, in a sense, which is good because I think that's helpful for a lot of people who aren't reading Axis right now. But honestly, this is a good book. I do think it definitely has an interesting premise behind it. Like, what if Tony Stark went back to the way he was before he became Iron Man? And because before he became Iron Man, Tony was basically very selfish, very greedy, so to speak. Was definitely a huge party guy. Only cared about money, booze, and women. So he's kind of going back to that. So he's back to that point, and it's kind of like, would he still be Iron Man at that point? Well, he is still Iron Man, but now he's definitely acting superior than everyone else. So yeah, this is a very great premise for the book. I also think Tom Taylor doing it, also artwork-wise, very beautiful, very nice. By the way, that's something everyone has been saying about this book, and I agree. The artwork in this is fantastic. Also, Tom Taylor, who you may know from DC Comics, Earth 2, and Injustice: Gods Among Us, is writing this book. I think he's a great writer, and so far, first issue, he has me hooked. I want to check out the first story arc. Hopefully, I will be on board for the rest to pick up the rest of the series. So, overall, Superior Iron Man, I would say, is definitely a buy. And that's it for this week's comic review. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel, whether you're an old subscriber or a new subscriber. What did you guys get this week for your new comics? What were your favorite comics this week? Please let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.